Hi, this is Eddie Deezen. You're listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall. I was Mandark in Dexter's Laboratory. Ha 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 ha.
You are listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall on Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode. Today I am joined by a very prestigious guest, a guy who's been around. He's done some good stuff. Producer, actor, writer, editor, bodyguard, you name it. He's probably done it. I've got Carmine Caradonna. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. How's everybody out there? I hope they're doing fine on this day. And hi, Ray.
Hello there. I hope that our listeners are doing very well themselves. So, without, procrastinating or taking too long, we'll jump right on into this interview if you're good with that.
Okay, just go ahead. Shoot right ahead.
All right, so here we go. I guess the first thing that I'd like to kind of cover is what kind of things you've done. I mean, I could go through and list them off, but I find it's almost a little bit better if the guest kind of tells the listeners what things they've done and what you feel is your kind of the jewel in your crown, if you will.
Well, I've done a lot of things. As you grow up, you go into different benches. I think the best thing I've ever done and the longest I've ever done was my martial arts. I mean, I've always wanted to do that, and I achieved levels that a lot of people of today, not that they wish that, I know people have, but in my case, I have reached some levels that a lot of people, my age, would appreciate, to keep at that level.
Okay.
If you stay in shape and you try and keep in shape, the older you get, I feel the better you get, rather than just keep on, keeping on, as I always say.
Right. So you did martial arts for a long time, and you're still doing it, right? Is that what I'm getting from this?
Right. Well, you're always going to work out. In fact, after this interview, I'm going to be heading to the gym.
Oh, there you go.
Work out. Yeah. And then I have what they call in Chinese the mukjang, which is the wooden dummy. I have that I built in my shed. I built like a stand. And I go and work on that also, which is an alternative in the Wing Chun system.
I was going to ask about that,
yeah. Yeah, to sparring with a person.
And Wing Chun is, that's where Bruce Lee started, right?
Yes, he started in Wing Chun, but before that, with his father, he'd done a few other, Chinese martial arts in the Wushu thing. He did that. But his main instructor was Yip Man. But Bruce Lee went to, I think he went to the second form and didn't do much on the mukjang, which is the wooden dummy. Didn't do much. And then he hooked up with Daniel Santos, which was from the Eskrima thing, Philippine arts. And I think a lot of that influenced him because it's very similar to Wing Chun. And when he uses the dummy, the Wing Chun dummy, as they call it, he more or less freestyled on it.
Right.
Rather than they go through the forms. I learned the forms two different ways. See, now in two different ways I learned the complete forms. I do freestyle because if I just go through the form, it gets boring. It gets boring to me. So I switch it around and I use it like I'm actually fighting somebody using all the movements.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. That's great. And so do you have a preferred martial art that you do, or is this kind of like the form of Carmine, or,
Well, I started in Taekwondo back in 1970, and I received a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo. But while I was doing Taekwondo about 1979, I started with the Wing Chun. Wing Chun right now is my primary because as the older you get, you can't do certain things. I mean, in Taekwondo, they have the kicks. Well, my age, you're not going to be kicking that fast or that high.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. So you resort to what is useful at that time. Plus I took a few wushu styles. I did do the Philippine arts. I did that also. I did do Chinese Hawaiian Kempo is with the older art that Ed Parker brought to the United States. It was the first one before came to the United States. He more or less Americanized Kempo.
Okay.
But Chinese Hawaiian Kempo is when he was on the islands, when he was growing up, he was doing more of the Hawaiian Kempo, which is more basically destructive and tearing apart type of Kempo.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
So, we've been talking a lot about the martial art thing, and I kind of want to use that as a segue into the next part, which, a lot of people probably haven't thought of. And anybody has heard the list of Chuck Norris jokes that go around, like Chuck Norris doesn't pay his taxes. He just sends them a picture in a text. But what people don't know is that was not 100% always accurate. Sometimes even the great Chuck Norris needed somebody to watch his back. And that's where you came in, wasn't it, Carmine?
Well, I did that. Basically, everybody has broadened that, but I did that basically once, and that was when he came into Miami, into the Omni. Well, when you get to that status and you're doing movies, any movie star, they can't take a punch or swing at anybody. They can't do any of that because you could get sued, you'd be in the news, and everything else. Right. So what happened was I was very good friends with the person that was putting on the big show and the big tournament and everything. And this is right after Chuck Norris did the movie Mission in Action.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He did that movie, and nobody realized how famous he got because of that movie. So when the lights came up, he was being mobbed. So I was like one of the VIPs at the tournament. I judged all fights and everything during the day. So at night they had this big extravaganza. So the owner of the tournament says, Carmine, could you stand, take care of Chuck Norris and everything? The perimeter outside, because you always have a perimeter, was all the big guys from, real intimidating guys. I was kind of like the cooler guy.
Okay.
The guy next to him that really didn't look like he can do anything. But, in fact, when the newspapers came out, I was the unknown person, with him, as they put it out. So that whole night I got to spend, and make sure we almost had somebody come, but the guy was just looking for an autograph, and I just had to bring him off. Chuck Norris was being interviewed by Tony Segreta, who was the announcer in Florida. He was a sportscaster in Florida at that time.
Okay.
And he was interviewing him. And also at the table, you had Bill Superfoot Wallace, you had Ed Parker was at the table. So I was there that day to make sure that Chuck Norris was fine and nothing was going. Of course, nothing happened, which led in the future with me being asked to come back. Every year there was a few guests. One time there was Ban Su Hong also from the Billy Jack movies and also Kentucky Fried Movie. He was Master Han.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He came in, and I did it for him, and I did it for Bill Wallace, and I did it for Ed Parker, as they came in, as the following years. But the biggest contribution was the one with Chuck Norris. He couldn't make it. I was supposed to pick him up the following year at the airport and bring him to his hotel room and say when everything, but he was doing Mission Action 2, and he was in Thailand at that time, so he couldn't make it.
I see. Okay.
So that was the whole story on the Chuck Norris. But I saw it. His regular bodyguard though is Howard Jackson, and I don't know. I think they all retired because Chuck Norris right now is basically in retirement. He had a whole hip replacement. So,
wow.
Yeah, he's doing fine and everything. He's doing great. But he doesn't really do much anymore. Kind of like in retirement. I heard that they're looking to reboot Walker. Remember the series Walker?
Yeah, Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah, they're to reboot it, but Chuck Norris isn't involved in it. I don't know how they're going to do that one.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be a stretch.
I know. I don't know how that one's going to do unless they're going to say like it's his son coming up or something. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Little kung fu, the legend continues going on there.
Yeah, one of those things. I don't know. I don't know how you could reboot things. They just don't work out. Right.
So going from martial arts to the movie industry, the quote unquote the industry, what kind of transition did you make there? How did that all work out?
Well, the movie business, I guess, has been in my blood all my life. My father was a radio in the service in the Navy. On a ship, he was a broadcaster on a ship, and he did other things on the ship. Later on, we did. He would do Ed McKelly, and that was the clown. Ed McKelly, the clown. He was famous for doing something like that. And he would take me along as a little hobo, so we would do shows for the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts, and that was fun to do. And this is when I was like 8 years old, 7, 8 years old. And then as I got older, you're always amazed in the movie making business. When I was in high school, junior and the senior, they had theater arts. Which I don't even think they have that in school anymore. They should bring back stuff like that. So I took theater arts, and they had we would have people come in. There was remember the guy who played Barnabas on Dark Shadows. He came in, and he told the background. So everything intrigued me. In that, when I graduated from high school, there was. I wanted to do, because of the Bruce Lee movies, everybody gets into that. I knew I had the karate because I started the karate at 1970, and I had that background. So I said, let's do a movie. So the kids from the schools and everything that was into photography and filmmaking and everything showed me, and this is the old thing where you take like a regular 8 camera and a Super 8 camera, and you do film, and you send the film out. And then when it comes back, they showed me how to, you run it on reel to reel, and you have to splice film and edit. That's how you edit it. That time you splice, you cut the film, and then you tape it together, and that's how you do everything at that time. So I learned it the old school way how to do that, and I came out with my first film, which was Face the Wind, which is on YouTube on my channel. And then I did a second movie, which was later on, about 78, 79. It ran to about 1980. It was like 3 years in the making, which was Five into Hell, which is, again, on my YouTube channel. Those are movies that I made early, early time, using film. But then when I moved to Florida, I was living up here on Long Island at that time. When I moved to Florida, things became different. The movie industry was just coming down to Florida. So that was a time where I could get my name in to do extra work, and I started doing extra work behind the scenes. There was stuff I did with Miami Vice. There was a movie that was called, what was it? Making Mr. Right I did. There was a baseball movie that I did that was a background. So there was a few things I was learning the behind the scenes of the movie industry.
Nice.
At that time. Meeting a lot of different people. So that gave more of a background over there. that was all going on at that time. But my main thing that I did to get, through to pay the bills and everything was I was a DJ in clubs.
That's awesome.
Yes, I was DJing in clubs since about 1975.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I was doing that, and that was my main source of income as I was doing everything else, because as everybody knows, as you are doing the acting and all, you're always broke actors.
Right.
That's how it is. So they're always doing something. A lot of people, they do waiters and all that. I was a DJ in the clubs.
That's awesome. That's really cool. That's very rare that I hear somebody say they were an old school DJ like that. So that's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I went from mixing vinyl to doing CDs. I didn't get to the flash drives though.
No.
I retired from DJing in 2004.
Wow. Okay. So not too long ago.
Yeah, so from 1975 to 2004 was my DJ career.
Ooh. And were you just DJ Carmine?
Yeah, just no fancy name, just DJ Carmine.
There you go.
I didn't have any of those fancy names.
Cool. That's really cool.
Now I know they have all those fancy names.
You're right. So I kind of want to go into some of the projects that you've been you worked on, and then you've got one that you're working on presently. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit and spread the word on it. Maybe we can get some attention drawn to it.
What is that the one? Yeah, because I was working. I just finished a couple of projects. One of the projects that I finished that wasn't mine, I just acted in, is called The Streets, and it's on Amazon Prime. That one.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that was a film by Eddie Rocky Rivera. Did that film, and if anybody wants to look for it on Amazon Prime, it's spelled kind of funny. They spelt it like the regular "the," but then The Streets is spelt with a $, a T-E-E-T, and Z at the end, and that's how you're gonna find it. And so my character in that movie appears towards the end, which is Sal, which is one of the crime bosses from Jersey. And then they did a second one, The Streets 2, is where my character continues. I do a few segments in that one when they were developing the character a little bit more. I did a scene with Katrina Michio, who was in The Sopranos.
Oh, that's really wild.
Yeah, and one of the main stars in the first movie, and he appeared in the thing, is Angel Salazar, which is he was from the movie Scarface. Right. Which was really ironic because when I lived in Florida, when the movie Scarface was being made, I was called to be one of the guys. And remember when they attacked the house at the end? They all attacked the house. I was supposed to be one of those guys.
Oh, wow.
They moved that scene, I believe, to L.A. because they went back to L.A. to finish. They had problems in Miami. So I couldn't go. In that scene. And, of course, Angel Salazar was in that movie. And, of course, he hung around a lot in Florida. In fact, in one of the clubs that I worked in Florida, he used to come in that club all the time. I never met him in the club because I was always up in the DJ booth and he was down below.
Right,
but, it was funny. I met him recently because the movie The Streets 2 won an award in the Corona Queens Film Festival run by Sal Ranella. And he was there and I met him and I go, Angel, I says, we go back a while. He goes, wow, really? And I go, yeah. And I say, he was, oh my God. It was like old friends as we were talking.
That's great. Those are great connections to have.
Yeah. In fact, in that film festival, my film, It's Java Time, won an award for best experimental short. It was kind of wild, that film.
Yeah.
Because I put it together. It was kind of, in fact, a lot of the filmmakers were saying, how'd you do this? Because what I did was I took each act that was in the film was from a different part. It wasn't from, I didn't film everything in one segment. My segment, of course, was here where I live. The other segments, there was 2 segments in Florida that was filmed in Florida and sent to me. And one segment was from India.
Oh, wow.
And the actor from India sent me the segment. And what I did was I edited all the segments together and made it complete like it was one short film. It only ran about 16, 17 minutes. And it looked like everybody was there the way I did it. I had to colorize it and everything because you have to make everything look the same.
Right,
not look
yeah.
like it's oh, yeah, and then one of the actors was from in Manhattan, New York. He filmed it there. And everybody sent me their segment. So they all had their opportunity to direct and do their own segment. And then they said it to me, and I did the editing and put it all together and made it one film. And it won Best Experiment Film, I guess, because of the experiment, because it was done like that.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
a really, really cool concept.
Yeah, and I did a couple of other segments. A film that I did that won a big award and in fact, it won multiple awards, and that was called Why Live. And that film that I did was, I'm not in the film, but I did the whole film. Basically, the whole film is done with a lot of footage that was taken from other things. It's all footage that you can find on the thing. I put it together, and I kind of made it like a film about global warming. But then what I stuck in it was almost like an a zombie type thing. I took a guy used to do every Halloween, do his whole yard up with all kinds of zombie and creatures and everything. So I went in there and I filmed everything, and the way that I put it on the film was I made it come alive with camera angles and in and out effects. So these zombies that he just put in his thing, I made it almost come alive. And I added that in the film, which would happen if everything went crazy, in the world, and you had tsunamis and you had earthquakes and everything, and the world would be coming to the end. This would be taken over. And then the last thing was an atomic bomb blowing up the whole earth.
Jeez.
And it was kind of weird the way it was put together, because it was put together with stock footage. Basically.
I see. That's cool.
And it won multiple awards too for it. And then coming to the one that you were asking about, it's called The Left-Handed Secret Agent. Is that the one you were referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one, it was a trailer. I made a trailer on it. And that was like one of the first things I did, and one of the first awards I won was The Left-Handed Secret Agent. It's about an over-the-hill agent that is retired, and something happens. I don't want to give away a lot of the plot.
Yeah. We don't want to do that.
Yeah. Something happens that the agents in the field can't perform the job entitled. So they call back this old school secret agent that has a lot of knowledge, which I'm going to be playing the part. And of course, he's going to have to do the martial arts. He's going to be involved in it. Of everything that I've learned in the past, you're going to be seeing some strange stuff that a lot of people, haven't seen from an American. You've seen Chinese and Chinese movies doing it. The closest that you've seen is that Robert Downey Jr. used it in the Sherlock Holmes movies.
Okay.
Sherlock Holmes?
Yeah.
If you see the first Sherlock Holmes movie, Robert Downey Jr. happens to be kind of an expert in Wing Chun also.
Oh, well,
If
I bet a lot of people
really
don't know that. Yeah.
No. He's kind of an expert in Wing Chun. In fact, if you see the Sherlock Holmes movie, the first one, you're going to see him using Wing Chun. Even in the second one that he did, he uses Wing Chun. And he did it by William Chung. I learned it through William Chung, and I learned it through the Ip Man style. I learned there was two different ways to do it. I learned both ways. He's learning the William Chung way that he did.
Okay.
So you're going to see that. You're going to see the Philippines, some of the Philippine arts. You're going to see some weapons being used in the movie. And this guy comes back, and he kind of like a womanizes, kind of like the old school Mad Helm type in like flip guys. That's the way he is. So it's going to be a little offbeat and everything. And that's the one. The script is finished. The screenplay is finished. I'm working on the storyboard. I have a few of the people that I'm involved with that I'm going to be doing it with. I'm going to have a meeting with them, and we're going to straighten out, scouting out some locations. I have some things in mind that we'll be working. I have the actors in my mind that I want to use. I haven't divulged anything because until I have a definite on everything, once you have a definite, then you can approach people because then you know where you're going with it.
Right.
According to, I was looking for people that's going to do the production of camera, but I have all the cameras, so I might do my own production on it.
Oh, well, that'd be cool.
Yeah, because I have two cameras. The thing I learned, what a lot of people don't realize, everybody wants this big camera. I have a 4K, I have a red light camera, which is all great, but a lot of people can't afford that. So
right.
If you get yourself a good digital camera, what I have learned is it's the lens that you use. It's what's going to make the movie,
Okay.
rather than the camera itself. The cameras I have are very good in low light, so I can film inside and get very good, look. So that's what everybody looks for. Oh, I need a good low light camera. Well, just get yourself a good camera. You don't have to get this $10,000 camera. I mean, that was used in the past.
Mm-hmm.
They still use it in Hollywood and everything, but as far as now, a lot of people have gone to digital. And they have, because a lot of movies have gone on to Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, and all those other things. And they're using the regular cameras. They're not using these big 10,000 cameras unless you come from a big Hollywood studio.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, so the lenses that you use, in fact, one of the movies I helped produce is called Expect Delays, which is another thing that's on my YouTube. Mm-hmm. Expect Delays was filmed with a lens called the anamorphic lens. The whole film, it was like it's probably a 7-minute short film, and it was filmed in anamorphic with the lens, and that was the lenses they used in the past. You remember when they made the Ten Commandments movie? Well, they used anamorphic lenses at that time, and you could see things kind of look kind of weird when you watch the movie, elongated and stuff.
Right.
If you look at it, that's an anamorphic lens. I mean, that's one lens. I'm not going to use it in my film because it won't require that, but they come in Panasonic and CinemaScope. Those are the CinemaScope, and you have the Panasonic scope, whatever it is they have. And I have two lenses like that. I've experimented with it. I might do a short film just to see how it's going to look coming off my camera, because then you have to do a whole bunch of different fittings on your camera to adjust, because those are like the gigantic cameras. But cameras of today, you can, if you get the right fitting, you can use those type of lenses.
Yeah. Wow.
But I'm going to use, in my film, I'm just going to use the regular lens that I have. I have wide lens. I have the optical lens. They have different types of lenses that I'm going to use in my film. So,
Cool.
So remember out there, people remember, it's the lens you use. It's not so much as the camera. So don't go broken high. In order to do the film, I need this $10,000 camera. I need this $2,000 camera. You can get yourself a good Canon camera for about $300, $400.
There you go.
And yeah, and that could do a very good job. In fact, like I said, my a lot of my early stuff that I did was on. They don't even make them anymore. It was regular 8 and Super 8 film
Yeah.
that I used.
Jeez.
And then I did a few of my a few that you might see on my YouTube leds. The what do you call martial art training films I did too.
Oh.
On the Wing Chun, yeah, Wing Chun and Taekwondo. I did a training film on Taekwondo up to the green belt.
Nice.
And then I did Wing Chun. I did Wing Chun up until the Chum Q form, which is the second form and part of the Wing Dummy. That's on my YouTube channel also. And I used a Sony camera, just a regular Sony, regular, no digital, nothing. One of those cameras they had before they went digital.
Okay.
You know, that remember when you had the little, I think they called it mini Super 8, they called it, the little cartridge you put in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I used on that. They don't really even sell that anymore,
No.
I believe. No, and I used that, and I just got all the format and all to put it on your computer. You have to buy a special. They sell it in the stores. It's a special thing to transfer it onto your computer.
Right.
Right now you just put in the SD card, goes right into your computer, and you just put up everything.
Yep. That's the fastest way to do it nowadays.
Yeah, that's how they do it now. I had to do and transfer it over and do the other things. So I had to do everything old school.
Right.
That's what my idea with the left-handed secret agent, since I'm left-handed also, that's what I did with that. A guy that comes back old school, doing things the old ways that people don't do, and he solves the crime. Of course, everything's going to be campy in that type of movie. Very, very, you're going to look at it and people are going to laugh. Some parts might be a little serious and everything in it.
Nice.
So I wrote this. My wife was the first one that read the script, and she even enjoyed it.
There you go. Well, that's the hardest critic right there.
Right.
So.
I said I have to get somebody that's very critical. It's going to be critical on it.
Right.
And my wife is into watching all those love type movies, where you can cry at the end.
Right.
My wife's name is Mary, so I call, it's another Mary movie. She cries at. So for her to read my script was an accomplishment in its own.
Yeah. That's great. That's so awesome. And, I just want to say, Carmine, that as we draw to a close here, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. You're a great guy. You're full of life and vigor still yet. You sound like a young guy. And, it's just been fun talking to you.
Thanks a lot, Ray. Thanks for asking me to be on the show.
Absolutely. So real quick before we completely close things up, do you want to let the listeners know, is there anywhere they could go to kind of keep in touch, follow what's going on, see what you've done kind of thing?
Yeah, there's one more thing that I didn't mention was I did a couple of voiceovers. The voiceover recently I did was to a cartoon called Catastrophe. It's written by William Campbell, and the voiceover I did was Mr. Titty. It's kind of like a Fritz the Cat type thing. The audio book is on Kindle on Amazon. That's the thing you could look at. People could look at that to get a background. It's kind of like, I wouldn't put it for young, it's for adults. It's an adult type thing.
Okay.
But it's on Kindle. It's called Catastrophe, and it's on Kindle. So I've done that also. I did a couple of voiceovers. So if people want to find, like I said, that is on there. On Amazon Prime is that film, The Streets. You can look for that. On my YouTube channel under my name. Everything's very simple. Just go to my name, and look at my YouTube channel, and you're going to see my films. Plus, you're going to see a couple of my home films, too. So you're going to get a good background of me. So you can see that. Plus, if you want to go to find me on Facebook, basically, if you go to Fun Pictures is where you're going to find us. That's FUNN Pictures.
Okay.
And that's how it's spelled. That's under the production company I go as, Fun Pictures. And that's where you're going to find a lot of the references of things. I haven't been on there. Now I'm starting to come along because I'm starting to push Left-Handed Secret Agent, and you're going to see more and more things come on Fun Pictures. You can look at that on Facebook. There's different menus. Like I said, the YouTube channel where you're going to see everything. Plus, you're going to see the film like The Streets on the Amazon Prime. So,
awesome.
that's where you can look there. That's where you can get to see what I'm doing for all the listeners.
Perfect.
So, on Facebook, if not, then I think there's a funpictures.com also, if you can go on that. I'm not sure if that's still, because I haven't been on that for a while. Okay,
well,
Ray?
There's only one way to figure it out, and that's to try. But, so again, thank you so much for coming on the show. Like I said, it was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope to have you back after some of these things have come to fruition, and maybe we can talk about it a little more.
All right. Well, once again, I'll keep in touch, and I'll let you know what's going on with the Left-Handed Secret Agent. That's probably going to be moving along in 2020, probably not to next year. Everything is going to be worked over by the end of this year, I believe.
Awesome. That's perfect. And
all right.
As a final shout out, I'd like to say thank you to all the listeners out there who turn in and tune on to listen to all these crazy interviews with these awesome guests. These people are just amazing, amazing people. So make sure to go to their stuff, promote it, like it, share it, follow it, click whatever notifications you can, and make this huge. Get the word out there, because it's people like you that keep this thing running. So thank you all very much, and we will see you later.
From celebrity interviews to Star Wars, to things that shouldn't be said but had to be said, to conspiracy theories, or maybe just a night of playing Dungeons and Dragons. Whatever the podcast you're looking for could be found here at Realm of the Mist Entertainment. Make sure you check out all of our shows, because there's something for everybody there.